Welcome to Revelation Unraveled. I'm your host, William Tapley, also known as the third eagle of the apocalypse and the co-prophet of these end times. I got an interesting email yesterday from one of my subscribers, Alphil08, and here's what he wrote. Have you read this article about Benedict praising Pope Francis? I have no doubt he was forced to do this. He is obviously waiting for the right time to speak the truth. And I used to think this myself, Alphil, and here's the answer I gave him. I'm beginning to think he will stay hidden, in other words, clothed in sackcloth, until the time of his martyrdom, if he is indeed the prophet Enoch. And I have stated before that that is my speculation. I have not said that definitely, but I think it is very possible that he is the prophet Enoch. If he is, he will not reveal himself until he is martyred, and then he is raised and everyone will be astounded. And I think the same thing will happen to Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel. Now, the occasion that Alphil was talking about was a celebration in the Vatican sponsored by Pope Francis for the retired Pope Benedict, because it was his 65th anniversary of his ordination to the priesthood. And here's a picture of it, and it's very interesting because, as you can see, Pope Benedict looks like a pope still. He dresses in white, he wears a white skull cap, and of course I have said all along that he is indeed the true pope, and Pope Francis is an interloper. And here is the article, I think this is from AP, which described this event. And it's very interesting because, as you know, when Pope Benedict resigned 3 years ago, everyone said he was at death's door. He had a fatal illness. He couldn't survive more than a year. That's why he resigned. And I told you at the time that was phony baloney. I said, popes do not resign. Pope John Paul II, he was bedridden until the very end, but he was still the Pope. He never did resign. And there was something very strange going on here. And let me read, now this was the AP description of this ceremony. While Francis presided over the ceremony, it was Benedict who stole the show with an off-the-cuff mini theology lesson on gratitude sprinkled with Greek and Latin that showed that the mind of the German theologian is still sharp at 89. He's almost 90 years old. He is still acting the role of the true pontiff. However, I don't believe he will stay alive much longer. I believe he will be martyred. And I warned you about this 4 years ago, before Benedict resigned, because I said that prophecy was included in that video by the Korean pop star Psy, Gangnam Style. Remember? When the man in yellow was defeated by Psy in a dance-off. The man in yellow represented Pope Benedict. Psy represented the Antichrist. The Antichrist defeats Pope Benedict in that video. He is forced to drive off in a red Mercedes, a German automobile, I think a Mercedes. The red signifies martyrdom. The license plate, if you remember correctly, had 3 5s on it. So I told you this 4 years ago. Now, here is what I believe is going to happen to Pope Benedict. I'm going to read for you the third secret of Fatima. I don't know if I have done this before for you. It's very interesting, and it's all about the bishop dressed in white. And you just saw that photograph of Pope Benedict dressed in white, still looking like a pope. Now, this is Sister Lucy talking. She received the amazing vision of Mary at Fatima back in 1913. After the 2 parts, which I have already explained, Sister Lucy speaking, at the left of Our Lady and a little above, we saw an angel with a flaming sword in his left hand. Flashing, it gave out flames that looked as though they would set the world on fire. But they died out in contact with the splendor that Our Lady radiated toward him from her right hand. Pointing to the earth with his right hand, the angel cried out in a loud voice, "Penance, penance, penance." And we saw in an immense light, that is God, something similar to how people appear in a mirror. when they pass in front of it. A bishop dressed in white. We had the impression that it was the Holy Father. Very interesting choice of words. Lucy and the other two seers, Francisco and Jacinta, thought this bishop in white was the Pope. That was their impression. Evidently, other people don't think he is the Pope. I am sure this is Pope Benedict who they saw. Other bishops, priests, men and women religious going up a steep mountain, at the top of which there was a big cross of rough-hewn trunks as of a cork tree with the bark. Before reaching there, the Holy Father passed through a big city half in ruins. Now we know from Nathan's testimony that this big city is the city of Jerusalem. Now some interpreters believe that this is the Roman Catholic Church. I believe that is also a legitimate interpretation, as the city half in ruins. And half trembling with halting step, afflicted with pain and sorrow, he prayed for the souls of the corpses he met on his way. Having reached the top of the mountain, on his knees at the foot of the big cross, he was killed by a group of soldiers who fired bullets and arrows at him. And in the same way, there died one after another the other bishops, priests, men and women religious, and various lay people of different ranks and positions. Now, I won't read the entire vision. You can look it up for yourself. It's interesting that this bishop in white, I believe Pope Benedict, is killed not only with bullets, but with arrows. And I remember at the time thinking that that must be symbolic, but maybe not. Just the day before, that poor wife was murdered by her husband with a bow and arrow. These new crossbows which they use for hunting are very dangerous. They are very deadly. I would not be surprised if that is an accurate prophecy of how Bishop in white, that is Pope Benedict, will be martyred, and I believe he will then be revealed as the prophet Enoch. In any event, that's my word for you this morning. We are living in very troublous times, and I seem to be doing more videos than I used to, and I hope this isn't a sign that we are at the end, but on the other hand, I think it is. And if you would like more information about my ministry here on YouTube, visit my thirdeaglemedia.com website.